So I have Suzanne ready to watch a Rush documentary before we go to the concert.
What?
Oh, that's too bad. Shouldn't that be the same as beating your wife?
I was going to say, I mean, I've got the number for a shelter.
Come on. I just want her to understand why I love Rush so much, so I figured it'd be nice if we just...
No, say it again, but say it. I just want you to understand why I love Rush so much!
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 199, the boy who loved brothers!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. Woo-hoo. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal in the gaming industry today. I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser. Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up, my contenders of carnage, my pugilists of pain? How art thou?
Nice. That was nice and strong.
Excuse me.
Like every time you do that, I just feel polyps growing on your throat. Like you're just slowly killing yourself with.
That's horrible.
That's right. I'm dying one episode at a time for you guys.
See, you're making such a sacrifice for us and the EBA community. Such a
mostly for the EBA community. I was not talking to you.
Such a nice gesture.
I'm actually making a really nice gesture right now. Can you see it? No, I guess you can't see it. Too bad.
Well, very good. How you been, man? What's been going on?
Man, I've been playing a lot of games. Of course, it's summertime, which means there's usually not a lot of AAA releases, so it's a great time to catch up on things, and that's what I've been doing. I've been playing kind of a mix of more recent stuff as well as some older things that I've been meaning to go back to and play some more, some iOS stuff. I've been playing stuff on my Ouya, so yeah, man, I've really been gorging out on games the last couple of weeks, which is great.
Very cool. Very cool. DK, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing great, TG, in 3D. It's Skirmish 199 of the old Epic Battle Cry, and of course, the number 99 has a deep, almost spiritual meaning to me, being a lifelong fan of one Mr. Wayne Gretzky, otherwise known as the Great One. So I like all things 99 because, this is our opportunity to, just like Wayne Gretzky, to show up, do our best, give our best every effort, and to hit the ice hard, make assists, put the puck in the back of the net, the biscuit in the basket, light the lamp, whatever else you want to say. I'm ready to go.
I feel like those are references to like something like
something that we probably can't say legally on a podcast in 23 states.
But maybe in some like northern territories or something we probably could.
Close to Canada.
True. Mention them.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Like caribou hunting? What? I'm not really sure what you were like referring to. But okay. Well, guys, we got plenty to go through this week, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet.
Gauntlet!
All right, guys, we're here in the gauntlet, and the first bit of news we've got is the fact that GameStop has stopped taking pre-orders for a certain upcoming game console. DK, which of the game consoles now are they stopped taking orders for?
Yes, putting the stop in GameStop, the company recently announced that if you are interested in pre-ordering one of those fancy, shiny new PlayStation 4s courtesy of Sony, you're shit out of luck. Basically, they fulfilled all of their pre-orders that they can for Sony's new console, and they recently announced that they are no longer taking pre-orders either online or in store. That might change, I guess, as they get, reallocated some more consoles for launch. But, there are still places to go online. A lot of people are pushing the hardcore bundles with several games or at least a game and some other things. But it's getting increasingly more and more difficult, even this early on here in early July, to secure yourself one of these consoles that are coming out later this year. So it's certainly a headline worth noting, particularly if you're interested in getting it on launch night. So what do you guys think of the feeding frenzy that is becoming the pre-order interest level of fans? I think people are freaking out, and wouldn't you think the console manufacturers would just make more, especially since they have so many months to do so? But what do you guys make of all this? And have you secured yours?
I have. I've already got my my PS4 pre-ordered, so in theory, I'm in good shape. As far as this goes, I don't know. I don't know how much of a big deal to make about it. I mean, I'm sure that you're going to have some Sony fanboys, some that work at Sony and some that don't, that are going to point to this and say, look like Sony's like already sold out of like all the PlayStation 4s that GameStop was ever going to get. They're already sold. But honestly, I think that as many months as we still have to go before this thing launches, I don't think that this is actually that big a thing to get worked up over. I think that Sony's been in communication with GameStop, and GameStop knows that they're going to get X number as of right now today, but that can definitely change between now and launch. So yeah, I mean, if there's money to be made off a game console, bet your ass GameStop's going to find a way to keep selling.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because, I mean, they have already made this announcement about the Xbox One as well, like I think a little over a week ago. So now a lot of people say, like, oh, that means it's sold. It's like, well, you have no fucking clue how many systems they said they would get. I mean,
Right.
it could be that, PlayStation said, hey, you can have 3 million systems, and it's like 100,000, for Xbox One or something. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I tell you, the big news, though, in all fairness, is you got to really look at it from the reality of this, which is that this isn't just how many PS4s that GameStop is got. This is like 3 times the amount they're going to get, because as we all know, GameStop will sell your pre-order to someone else 2 to 3 times.
That's true.
That's true.
So I mean, this is
just
big
like
news.
the airlines. They're all they're just always
Right.
They're
overselling.
constantly selling what they've already sold.
Yeah.
That's right.
But, anyway, that's it is pretty cool, but it is kind of interesting, like you said, so early before. I mean, when we're talking months away before we will be seeing these consoles, and the largest gaming retailers already sold out. So
Pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting. Another kind of interesting bit of news around the PS4 is that we found out this past week that the light sensor that is on the top of the new controller cannot be turned off.
Whoa.
Brent, is that a big deal or not? Or
I honestly don't know, because I have no idea how bright that thing's going to be in a dark room. But
That's what she said.
And I mean, but honestly, I really don't know what to make of this. I mean, like I read this headline on several gaming websites today, and I'm not.
do you
exactly,
just feel like this is like
I'm
the
not
need
exactly
to
sure
make
what the
news?
news story here is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, so there's a light on it. Light can't be turned off. There's an LED on the PS3 controller right now that I can't turn off either. The little red one that
Breaking news. System that's been out
it
for
is.
7 years finally realized the light cannot be turned off.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm a little bit interested in that aspect of it. But anyway, maybe it was just a slow news day. As far as whether or not this is news, I really can't say that I see it being much of a big deal. I suppose that some people are complaining like, oh well, that means the battery's going to run out much faster, which is kind of relative. I mean, because LEDs they don't draw a lot of power. That's kind of what makes them so worthwhile, is that they're very low power devices.
And as you point to it, they've been in devices like this for quite some time now. And,
Well, if nothing less, this story making the rounds and getting so many comments, I think it's really the reaction to the story that's the actual story, and the fact that this kind of news, in fact, sheds light on the fact that gamers are so ravenous for information about these consoles, and in a lot of cases such fanboys of one or the other, that they're willing to start arguments or do things based on something as minuscule as this. Now, whether or not it actually impacts the experience, it's interesting that it doesn't turn off. I mean, it is a pretty prominent light, that is on the, if you game in the dark and you really like to have that full atmosphere thing. I think a lot of the developers are trying to utilize the light sensor, though, as a way to augment the experience. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. But the fact of the matter is that sensor is meant to work in tandem with the PlayStation camera, which we did recently find out will not be bundled in with the PlayStation 4, which in effect makes the LED sensor not useful to people who don't go out of their way to buy the camera unless it's utilized, like we said.
Which, let's be specific, is everyone.
Which will probably be most people, unless the developers, of course, utilize it in interesting ways. Of course, talking about games like Killzone Shadowfall, possibly utilizing it for showing your health or diminishing health or when you're hit or something like that. So I think the light.
Can you see this thing? I mean, how like
Just face forward though.
It faces away from you. Like if the thing turns red when your health is low, how the fuck does that help you?
Well, maybe you'll see flashes. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you'll see flashes, or maybe it'll glow, or I don't.
Maybe that's the thing. They had to make it so bright that you could see the reflection of it in the TV that you're watching it on.
Possibly,
and that's why people are concerned.
I'm not going to see. Bright. I'm not going to see reflections of it because I'm covering that thing in electrical tape the second it comes out of the box.
Which controller is
right,
yours? One with duct tape on it.
I gotta be honest. I really will say though that I think this could be this could be a bigger story than we are talking about right now. Because I'll be Sony now has opened themselves up to Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft now can just own this by having their light on their controller be disabled. So,
oh my God, you're right.
This is something I don't think anyone has been planning for. Boom!
They just tipped the balance.
Just won the console war. All right, so next up, we've got a little bit of news around what Microsoft's going to be doing this summer. Of course, we're talking about stuff that's going to be coming out later in the year, but we've still got a long time before then, and there's some really good deals coming up on Xbox Live's Summer of Arcades. So, DK, can you tell us a little bit what we're going to be able to pick up?
Sure. Well, this year, obviously, the Summer of Arcade promotion, which has become an annual event online for Microsoft as they find new games to push and promote on the Xbox Live platform. The details of both the games and the prices and release dates have been, that's three things, have been revealed. Three of which I'm pretty interested in, two of which I'm very interested in, one I'm not. But anyway, the bottom line is this is what we're getting. On August 7th, for 1,200 Microsoft points, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which is Starbreeze Studios and 505 Games, is going to be the first game coming out in the Summer of Arcade. After that, on August 14th, the following week, for 800 Microsoft points, we'll get Charlie Murder by Ska Studios, published by Microsoft. Then the remake of the classic title Flashback by Vector Cell and Ubisoft is coming on August 21st for 800 Microsoft points. And finally, on August 28th, 1,200 Microsoft points will get you to say Cowabunga. Probably way too many times than you need to, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows from Red Fly Studios and Activision. So those are the four games. Like I said, two of them, specifically Brothers and Flashback, I'm very interested in. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm kind of interested in, and Charlie Murder, I could care less. So what do you guys think about the lineup?
I guess I'm kind of with you. I mean, there's a couple of these that look pretty cool. I think Brothers looks interesting. Flashback looks pretty fun. I actually think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows looks pretty cool. But the simple fact is that I just don't game on my Xbox all that much these days. So, for me, it'd be more kind of a wait and see to find out whether or not any of these titles, end up making it to the PC at some point. If I was active on my Xbox more, I might be more interested. But I haven't turned it on in a little while, so I'm not sure if any of these are going to be enough to get me to jump
back into things.
What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta be honest. I don't find the lineup as a whole too compelling. Like I just don't. There's I'm not saying that the game. Some of the games don't
Brothers
look okay.
is really
Brothers
cool. Trust me.
I've seen it. I've seen the mechanic. I get it, but I don't necessarily. I don't know. Just to me, I don't see a lot of people flocking to this type of game. And I was actually reading some comments. On the story we linked to talking about this. Somebody brought up a good point. It's like how many people were you going to take a chance on some of these games, knowing you can't even transfer them over to your new console that you're going to be playing in a couple months. So I think people are becoming maybe even getting a little pickier in the games they pick up in the next couple months because they're sort of thinking like if I play it, I'm going to have to play it right now, and I can't play it kind of down the road. I think people are starting to kind of think about that a little bit more, and I don't know, just none of these titles just really are jumping out at me. Although I'm sure they'll do all right.
Yeah.
They're not gonna they're not gonna like just sit on the virtual store shelves and not be perfect.
Yeah, I think they'll probably be
Also,
successful, but it is that summer thing where these kind of smaller games get more promotion and also an opportunity to kind of, they're not as involved. And like you were saying at the top of the show, Brent, fill a lot of the gaps because it's not very busy at retail. So I think this has been a very good promotion for Microsoft. This year's lineup maybe not as strong as other years, although me personally, I am very interested in Brothers as just a general game, and then Flashback. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they'll deliver.
But you also got to remember that the Steam Summer Sale may be starting like today, like the day that people are listening to this. There are rumors that the Steam Summer Sale starts like this week.
I think the thing too is, well, and also like,
so you got to save your money for that.
Is the pricing on this, because something I've never quite understood, like, is the pricing on this discounted? Because these prices don't seem that like.
No.
I mean, these are new games. So I mean, like this thing, like a summer sale. I hate to break this to someone. A summer sale usually means that the games are on sale.
Well, they never said it was
and
a
so
sale.
like when they bring out brand new games, like to me this would be a perfect opportunity for Microsoft to maybe try something new, which is, I don't know, sell something at a fucking lower price than it's normally always worth.
Right.
And they could do it like in a day by day thing. So like if you buy it on the first day, it's whatever,
cheaper,
$5.
Yeah.
And then at the second week it's $10, and third week it's 15, and that's what it stays at. Or
it'd
whatever.
be like getting
that would be a perfect way to
a flashback to old prices. Oh, brother.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's just, there's all ways they could do it, but whatever. It's cool. And like I said, I'm sure there's some people very excited about this. You've only mentioned brothers like 18 times, so I'm pretty sure there's other people that are looking forward to it too. Another game that I'm sure quite a few people are just about to jump out of their skins excited for is the new Grand Theft Auto 5.
Ooh,
and
we got to see it this week.
We've got a little bit of news from the guys behind that, and they are looking at bringing some of their some possibly Grand Theft Auto 5 and maybe some of their other titles to the PC platform. Brent, what's that going to mean for us?
All right, so a recent job listing from Rockstar Leeds, which has since been removed, was looking for a graphics programmer to, quote, help bring our latest titles to the PC platform, end quote. The full listing talks about working with a team of skilled developers on next generation games, being responsible for maintaining the studio's uncompromising quality and delivering the highest quality PC experience possible. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto 5 has not been announced for the PC. Grand Theft Auto 4 and all the other games are on the PC at this point. So it's a foregone conclusion that at some point, Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to make it to the PC. The real meat to this particular story, though, is the tantalizing possibility that it might not just be Grand Theft Auto 5 coming to the PC, but perhaps some other recent Rockstar titles like, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption. Now, I don't want to get my expectations too high and just get burned, but I so want Red Dead Redemption on the PC, and I don't know if this is an indication that, that Rockstar is even thinking about it at all. In all likelihood, this is going to be, for Grand Theft Auto 5 or, some other things. I don't know that they would go back and do like a catalog title at this point. But, oh, my God.
Yeah.
I really wish that they would bring Red Dead Redemption to the PC.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because, the timing of it actually, came on the same day that we saw Grand Theft Auto 5 gameplay for the first time through the video that Rockstar released, but also heading into the next generation now where it appears that with a listing like this, which you mentioned was removed, but it's evident that they do have plans to be more active in the realm of porting over their titles to the PC. Maybe not, maybe increasing the timing on this, maybe kind of sticking with what they've done in the past. You mentioned a couple, the Red Dead Redemption, also games like table tennis and Midnight Club and stuff. They've never made it to the PC, but I think what this kind of indicates to me is that heading into the next generation of games, it might be a little higher on their priority list to simultaneously be getting a PC version of their games out, or at least increasing when the game would come out on PC as opposed to the console counterpart. So it's interesting that this listing was up. Rockstar, obviously a huge company with huge franchises, and Grand Theft Auto being, obviously one of the biggest in the industry. Whether or not we get word on that coming to the PC at some point because of this listing remains to be seen. But definitely need to be excited about the fact that their PC audiences can look forward to some of these blockbuster games coming to their platform.
Yeah, the thing I've never quite understood, I mean, and more so going forward than ever, is don't they develop these games on PC, essentially? I mean, I understand they're, it's not strictly for PC, but they're using PC, relatively comparable PC hardware. If anything, the PC they're developing on is significantly more powerful. They're developing in languages that these new consoles speak very easily. Like, if anything, it seems like porting it would be
Not
significantly easier now. Like, I mean, you know, the amount of time that goes into optimization for the consoles seems like it would take infinitely longer than optimizing it for
Yeah.
you know for
General
PC.
PC
I
hardware.
just don't, you know. So I mean, yeah, and maybe that's the thing.
Well,
maybe going forward, we'll see that be more standardized than it has been.
Yeah,
but
I think so. But the thing that I was going to say, I mean, it seems to me that generally, like the level of graphic fidelity and things like that you're going to deliver on consoles, just in terms of, you know, like the poly count of your models, the resolution of textures and things like that, would need to be significantly higher on the PC. And if they never sort of prepped those assets,
Yeah.
you know, initially, like
I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Higher res textures and things, then, you know, they're ultimately going to release a game on PC that, you know, might not really look all that great compared to, you know, other titles of that genre.
But I mean, usually it's the opposite of that in the early days. You know, in general, like the console counterparts will look equal to, if not better than, their PC counterparts, because the hardware is usually, you know, a decent spec'd up, you know, version of something that's out there. So I don't necessarily think that's true. Plus, to be honest with you, most PC ports these days don't necessarily bump up, you know, the assets
that's
greatly.
true.
You know, they usually run them at a higher resolution, but that's
There's
about
certainly examples of that. Yeah.
yeah, and not even necessarily that higher resolutions. You know, some of them lock the resolutions in at like a 720 or a 1080, which is stupid. You know, I've never understood that. But you know, but I don't think it necessarily. Now I could see, say, like 5 years from now, when the consoles are going out, yes, the PC ports or the PC versions would probably need to be anywhere comparable to like other games that were developed solely for the PC, would have to be significantly better, because the hardware is going to change that much.
Yeah.
But
and
I don't
just to
know.
clarify, you know, what I was saying, like I was thinking primarily about, you know, say like Red Dead Redemption coming out for the PC. Like if they just did a straight port with, you know, the graphics and everything that were in that game when it came out, you know, like 3 years ago or, you know, 4 years ago.
yeah.
It would look terrible by, you know, like modern PC standards, and that is kind of what I had in
I guess
mind.
I'm just saying, like, with the guy that they're wanting to hire at Rockstar, can he not just be like, okay, just so I understand, can I not just save the game that we're working on now and just make it capable of running on the PC? Can I do that? Would that be okay?
That'd be
Because
fine
like
by me.
I just don't really see. I mean, the assets, you know, that they're developed, I don't see how they couldn't just roll straight onto a PC platform. But anyway,
You could always just apply and find out.
Yeah, Tony.
it's been pulled down now. I can't apply
Oh,
anymore.
true.
And I don't live in Leeds. I don't live in some foreign weird country like the UK.
Weird country.
You also don't know how to program for the.
Piece.
Well, okay,
That's
yeah,
three
fine. If you want to get
strikes against you there,
nitpicky,
buddy.
all right. I don't know how to develop and/or program and/or have, you know, experience.
Beyond that, though, you're a shoo-in.
All right, guys, we're in the main topic this week, and you know, seeing as though it's kind of you know, about halfway through the year, it's summertime. You know, something we've already kind of mentioned a couple times. You know, this is sort of the time that, if anything, it's when you get caught up with all the games that have been coming out over the last few months. You know, not to say that there aren't a few diamonds in the rough, you know, coming out around this time of the year, but in general, you know. This is when you kind of play through if there's any games you've missed. So we want to reflect back a little bit on the games that have been out the first half of this year. So, Brent, you want to kind of start us off? What are some of the titles that you've played in this first 6 or 7 months or so of this year, and are really feeling like maybe game of the year kind of material?
Well, you know, there's a few things that come to mind. The game that I'm playing right now, I mean, like, you know, when you say game of the year, the game that leaps into my head right now is The Last of Us. That's you know, a game that I'm playing at the moment. I still haven't finished it. I'm kind of moving through it a little bit slowly, but enjoying it enormously, and it is a very, very deep, rich experience. But I mean, you know, there's been some other, you know, pretty big games that have already been out this year that you know, people have you know, kind of whispered that game of the year contender in relation to them. So it is the midpoint of the year, which it means it's a great opportunity to just, you know, take a moment, kind of look back on what's already come out, and then, you know, maybe also, you know, sort of think about, you know, what's going to be coming out in the next 6 months.
Right.
And, you know, just kind of start to, I don't know, you know, maybe just kind of start getting a lay of the land a little bit and thinking about, you know, what are the games that, you know, we think are gonna sort of rise to the occasion as we get to the bottom half of or, you know, to the end of the year, and are actually going to be in contention, you know, for our game of the year personally, as an industry, whatever. I mean, certainly when BioShock Infinite came out, that was something that that really had people talking. That was very, very popular at the time. People were talking about game of the year. I don't know if the excitement level for it is as great now. That people have had some time to get past it and everything. But that's always the way it is. As you go through the year, it's easy to be excited about what you're playing right now, but then you have to kind of look back and take everything in totality and sort of figure out what was that gaming experience that I had this year that just for whatever reason, stood head and shoulders above the rest.
And it's been a very interesting year. And I think not just me, but, I think collectively there's higher expectations this year because we're not just ushering a new generation of gaming in, but we're saying goodbye to this current generation. So we're kind of like got this bar at this level of like this. We want to go out with a bang. That's why games like BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us that make such a distinct impression are the ones that people are talking about the most. Plus just being, solid games. People who listen to this podcast know the way Brent and I have talked about BioShock Infinite, that it wouldn't be my pick for a game of the year, but it certainly doesn't stop it from being a contender in terms of, just its impact on the industry. But I think one of the things that's been very surprising too has been some of the games that have come out that have been such huge disappointments. I mean, let's not for Aliens.
We just talked about BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, for us, BioShock Infinite. But Aliens: Colonial Marines was a huge disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
But then you have games too, like the new Gears of War Judgment, the new God of War Ascension. Both of those came out in March. Those I think could really only be classified as decent games, but kind of letdowns as far as like being the last of this console generation. But there's also for all of the kind of lackluster games that have come out, there have been some standouts. And, surprisingly for me, when I look back on this year so far, I would have to say that Tomb Raider has been the game that I have had the most memorable experience with. Now,
that's a surprising statement. I have to admit, I'm a little taken aback.
But that's fair though. So that is one of the best experiences you had with it.
It's a great game.
Yeah, it's a great game. In terms of it being a game. Now, when the game came out, I talked about its level of violence. I talked about my expectation of it for the character and for the franchise. All of that held true the moment I put down the controller after having completed the game. But when I look back on this year thus far, that was one game that I had a hell of a lot of fun with the exploration aspects of the game. Even though it was ultra violent, Crystal Dynamics did not ultra violent for video games compared to Gears of War and everything else, but for what I was hoping for and expecting, it was more violent, as I explained back in March when the game came out. But being fair to the title, they did a good job of implementing its action, and just the components of developing your arsenal and the character and stuff. I wish it didn't go down some of the story paths that it did. I mean, the development paths that it did with that, but it doesn't stop it from being a good game. And when I look back on this year, that's the one that kind of stands out to me, aside from bits of DLC like the Dishonored DLC I really enjoyed, and some other stuff as well. But Tomb Raider for me thus far has been the game that I would say I've enjoyed the most in 2013.
I definitely think Tomb Raider has to be in the kind of running for Game of the Year. I think it's easily one of the AAA titles that really, I think, delivered on what it promised. I mean, I think people were kind of hoping that it would be as good as the early trailers and stuff that we saw, and I think it pretty much lived up to that.
Yeah.
There's a couple, you kind of hit on a little bit of an interesting, point of talking about, some of the games that were big, or big or bigger disappointments. One of the games that I actually was really looking forward to this year, and I got to be honest, never even ended up playing it because of all the headache, was SimCity. I was hugely pumped up for that title.
I was too.
Going into this year. Like, I mean, seriously, it was one of the games I was looking most forward to this year. And literally with every single story that came out, like the couple days leading up to, and then I was like, well, maybe I'll let me hold off until they work out some of the bugs, and then inevitably there just kept hitting more and more negativity. I've just decided at this point that it's not the kind of game that I was hoping for and or want to play. So there's a game that I was probably, it was definitely probably in the top 10 things I was looking forward to of this whole year, and decided not even to pick it up at this point because of the trouble they had. There's a couple of games that I do think made better impressions than I originally thought that they would. One is actually Metal Gear Solid Revengeance.
Okay.
I gotta be honest with you, like I actually was not looking forward to that game much at all.
Yeah.
Then once it came out and kind of got a chance to play it, I actually enjoyed the gameplay quite a bit. It reminded me a little bit more in like the like Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden sort of style, kind of the action was pretty good. I don't know. I actually thought that it ended up delivering better than I think most people were expecting out of it. Most people I've talked to that played the game actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So I don't know. I think there were a few in there, a few things that were more.
Yeah, and
more
Ni no
successful.
Kunis, it was early on in the year, something that I really wanted to play. I haven't gotten around to playing through it because I keep wanting to do it with my boys and play that. But that's a game that it gets a lot of attention from people who have.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe in the RPG category, it probably won't be a game of the year contender just because of its.
Yeah.
It's up against
genre.
some genre and reach, but
I think its genre is kind of is slowing down in at least in the United States. I think a little bit more so. Not to say that it's any less good. But
Sure.
just, I don't know. It doesn't kind of
Maybe
get the same.
less popular.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about looking
what's
forward though?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say, because I mean, definitely, there's a few things that we can point to right now that I think we all agree. Yes, I mean, that will be in the running for Game of the Year, but there's still a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out this year that I think is going to be a likely contender for that as well.
The Smurfs
Obviously,
2, possibly? Is that what you're
yeah, I
thinking?
mean, definitely.
Sure.
Come on, what do you mean
Possibly. I mean, I question whether other games need to come out the rest of the year.
I agree. So Grand Theft Auto 5 is obviously going to be like a real 800-pound gorilla.
Sure.
When it comes out, that's not only a highly anticipated title, but a highly anticipated follow-up to an exceptionally popular and critically acclaimed franchise.
Which they just released, as of recording, they just released a kind of long play.
Yeah, gameplay trailer for it.
Oh my god! And I got to be honest, like that's one of those games I just never really gotten into the series, but every time I see footage from the game, I'm like, damn, that.
Yeah, it looks pretty amazing. I mean,
It
I
does.
don't doubt it'll be a Game of the Year contender, but I mean, personally, just I probably won't. I don't know. I'll look forward to checking it out. But I'm not
Is
as
it because of
excited.
the violence? You remember you said that about Tomb Raider and you loved it. Come on. No, I'm just
No, I don't know. It's just
I'm kidding.
Like you, I'm not that huge of a fan of the series, although I certainly recognize why it is
It's
what it is.
important
But
and,
yeah, that's definitely probably going to be on. I mean, definitely probably that's going to be on people's lists. Hopefully they don't screw it up, and we're yet to find out more about the multiplayer, so that should be interesting as well.
Yeah, which will be yet another component of that. But also, I mean, there's a couple of other really big things. I mean, definitely for me, one of the titles in the bottom half of the year that I'm thinking about is Beyond Two Souls, and then you've got Batman Arkham Origins, and let's not forget about some next gen stuff like Watch Dogs, for example.
Watch Dogs, yeah, that's my big one for the rest of the year. Sure,
that's got huge buzz going right now, and when it finally comes out, I mean, we'll see how people react to it. Plus, you got you got a new Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, coming out also. So I don't know. I mean, there's some really heavy hitters that that have yet to come out. So I think that I think it's going to be pretty big, or it's going to be a very competitive sort of year as far as that Game of the Year title goes.
I feel like I think you're missing the one really big title that is the rumors that they're working on it is unless something's changed in the last 24 hours or so, they're doing a Madden this year.
They're doing one.
God.
They're doing one. They're doing it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it got the green light, and they're going to do a football game this year on a gaming console.
Why is anybody else even releasing a game?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I heard.
No, in all seriousness, though, I think this is going to be one of those years that's going to be really interesting to see. Like, for instance, like the game I'm probably the most excited about later this year, because, again, I tend to play some of the shooters a little bit more. I'm looking forward to Battlefield 4.
Sure.
Like, Ghosts, I don't know. I'm not, like, last year I was more into kind of a Battlefield 3 mode than anything still, just with the DLC and stuff like that. Just thought it was a more fun game. Looking forward to Battlefield 4 a little bit more this time around. I'll probably pick up Ghosts, who knows, but to me that's going to be one of those things that I cannot wait to play that game on a new console. It's going to be available on the old consoles, and I think that's cool, and excited for people that maybe just aren't going to be able to or aren't quite ready to get a new console just yet. I think that's a great option. But like to me, that's a game that sometimes I think gets a little bit, pushed off the side because it is so mainstream. Like that they just kind of think like, well, yeah, you've got that too. But I don't know, man. Every time I see footage from that game, to me it is almost on the level, or maybe I won't even say almost, it's definitely on the level, but it's just different to like a Grand Theft Auto 5 or some huge release, because it's just like the scope of the game is just damned impressive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Watch Dogs is the game in the second half for me that like there's certain games as I've explained in the 199 episodes of this show that it's like there's no doubt that I'm going to play that from start to finish, and
Brothers, for instance.
Brothers is one of them. But Watch Dogs is one of those games, and it's the only game in the second half of the calendar that I know for a fact that I will get the complete experience of. I want to check out the new Splinter Cell.
You won't be playing NHL?
I want to check out XCOM Declassified, the Bureau.
Sure.
I want to check out some of the other ones. If I had a Wii U, I'd check out Pikmin 3, but I'm probably not going to buy a system just for that unless unless there's a bundle or something cool. But yeah, Watch Dogs I think is definitely going to be there with The Last of Us, BioShock Infinite, Tomb Raider, and probably something like Beyond Two Souls and Grand Theft Auto as the Game of the Year candidates when it's all said and done. Go ahead and mark it down.
I thought you were going to do like a watch for it.
Watch for it, dog.
I'm glad you didn't do that.
Oh, wait.
All right, guys, we're coming up on the end of this week's Skirmish, but first we have our battle cries of the week, and I'm going to start with my battle cry, which is a little bit of, I got to complain. I'm always the pessimist, I get it, but I get kind of frustrated with things that just don't make sense to me. Like, for instance,
like magnets. How the fuck do they work?
Magnets. What's the deal? So I don't understand why companies don't think that I guess certain parts of the world care about certain features that other parts of the world do care about. I get that there's different things where your different regions and stuff and things are a little more popular here and there or whatever. But for instance, they just announced the new Pokemon X and Y Special Edition 3DS units. Basically the colors and the cases are designed differently, and they got different designs on whatever. And they look pretty cool. There's actually one that's blue that's got kind of a little I don't know, print of the two main monsters from the two games, whatever, on it. It looks really neat. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, it looks like it's only going to be coming out in Japan, maybe in Europe. I haven't seen a confirmation on that. But it's not coming to the States. There's also one that's gold that has this other kind of cool thing on it, and it's not coming either. And I don't get that. You look at these other countries, and they typically have somewhere in the range of 3 to 4, 5, 6 different colors that they can choose from at any given time. In some cases, over time, there have been 20 or 30 different colors, over the lives of these systems. Whereas in the States, we always get the 2 or 3 most generic of all the colors that they offer. Mm-hmm. And they never do any cool designs. They never do any cool anything else. It's just it's so boring and generic. Yeah. But they'll sell us little stickers to stick on them, and they look like shit. And it's just such a, just so... They're so frustrating that it's just they don't see the importance that gamers over here kind of want cool things like that too sometimes. Maybe they when I don't think they've really tried it, given it an honest effort, but when they've tried it before, they typically just the designs look cheaper. They don't look like they put as much thought into them. I don't know what it is. It's just something about it, and it frustrates me. Mm-hmm. I wish going forward they'd start to take a little more chance with that. I'd like to see a PS4 or Xbox One variant that is a new case that has a different design on it instead of just maybe a different color, because that's the only thing they ever do is they just do a different color. They never do any kind of I don't know, a graphic from the game smack dab on the top of it or something. The Xbox, I take that back. Actually, the Xbox 360, they did a couple of those. Yeah. But it just doesn't seem like they do it nearly as much as I feel like they should. So
I second that. Pokey, come on.
Oh, God. Don't second anything I ever say again. All right.
Don't
Brent,
ever be on my side again.
Never be on my side ever again. Brent, what's your battle cry this week, man?
My battle cry this week goes out to an iOS title that is going to be coming out the day that you're listening to this, in theory, July 11th. And that game is Deus Ex The Fall. This is the mobile game That's a follow-up to Deus Ex Human Revolution, set in the same cyberpunk universe, and looks to retain a shockingly high degree of the game mechanics from Human Revolution. I've seen it played, and I don't think that it looks perfect. I mean, there's definitely some kind of clunky aspects to it, but I'm interested enough that I'm planning to pick this up when it comes out. It's going to be $6.99 on the App Store. It's compatible with the iPad 2, iPhone 4S, and iPod Touch 5 and higher. But anyway, I would encourage you to check it out if you're on one of those devices and are looking for something to play. It definitely looks like a good-looking game, and I love Deus Ex Human Revolution. I was so excited to play that game, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to check this one out and see if they are able to capture some of what made Human Revolution such a great experience. So anyway, Deus Ex The Fall, Thursday, July 11th on the iOS App Store. I'm going to check it out, and I'd be interested to find out if anybody else does as well.
Kind of one of those neat little pleasant surprises as well, because we knew the game was coming, but they just announced like a couple of days ago that it was coming, and it's coming next week, well, this week. So like that's kind of cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
It is cool. Lauren and I were talking on the X Factor, the same thing kind of about the Walking Dead 400 Days. Like that was like the same kind of thing. Like they announced it like, oh, we're going to do this DLC thing, the 400 Days. Oh, and it comes out like in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
Which is really cool. We're always kind of talking about that. Like I mean, Tony, you've mentioned that, almost as many times as Daniel's mentioned that goddamn Brothers game. That you love, when somebody just says, you know what, we got this game. And it's coming out like in like a week or something like that.
And also
just
cool. The whole thing where they announce it, and then the next thing about it is it comes out. Like not the things we announce it, and for the next 18 years we're going to talk about it until we decide to release it.
Right.
So that's very cool. That's awesome. DK, what's your battle cry this week?
My battle cry goes out to Lionhead Studios and the fact that Fable Anniversary is on the way. Now, the game, as we talked about when it was first announced, I think it's cool. I mean, we have a walkthrough, a rather lengthy walkthrough on GameTrailers.com of the HD, Fable Anniversary, which is coming to Xbox 360. They announced this interesting little, fan-made achievement contest on the forums where people will have the opportunity to submit ideas for an achievement, and the winner will obviously have their name immortalized by being in the credits of the game and whatnot. So that's pretty cool too. What's not cool is the game being $40. I don't think they should be charging $40 for a remake of a game from that old. And what's also not cool is all the time being spent on remaking this game, which I understand that people want that, but like I've said, and this is the crux of my battle cry, make a new freaking Fable game. If you're going to put all this effort and energy and charge fans and do all this rigmarole, make a new game, and don't be afraid of the fact that the franchise is kind of tailed off a little bit. Put all the effort and energy into doing something and bring this franchise back and get us excited about a next gen Fable. That's what I want to see, and that's my battle cry to Lionhead Studios. This is great. This is all icing on the cake for people like me who have enjoyed the franchise, although, as I've stated many times on this podcast as well, the first game was my favorite and then dwindling from there. But, I'll check out this HD version in Fable Anniversary. I think it would be something fun to play with my sons again as well. I really just love that first game, the atmosphere of it, the music, all that kind of stuff was great. It's a classic in my mind. But as much as I'm looking forward to that, I want to see Fable continue and not be some stupid Connect type of game or something. They've let this franchise go. So Lionhead, bring Fable back and make it worthy of the legend that it actually is. That's my battle cry, and I hope that we get to see something soon.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okie dokie.
All right, so I believe I have the member battle cry this week, and it's talking a little bit about, last week we talked about the Independence Week, and talk a little bit about how indie games are becoming just more and more a part of the overall gaming landscape out there. And we got this comment from Pernicious Panda.
That's correct.
What does pernicious mean?
Siri.
Pernicious means having a harmful effect in a gradual or subtle way.
Naughty panda. Okay.
Ooh,
all right.
naughty. Gotcha.
So his or her, I don't know, statement was, "I'm convinced that indie, smaller budget, and lower priced games are the future. So I'm all for them invading every inch of the console space. The $60 game space has become a broken clusterfuck of misguided policy and overwhelming lack of unique games identifying among big publishers. When the only way the big publishers are competing is flash and budgets instead of unique ideas, more are inevitably going to fall." So, yes, he kind of seems to have a problem saying that, he feels like because of that price point that they're not being as innovative. I don't necessarily know that I fully agree with that. I think in a way they're just becoming less inventive, and they're just sticking with that price point because whatever. But what do you guys think? I mean, do you think the I definitely think I love the idea that the indie games can kind of come out and sometimes be at a lower price point and have a great game experience for that. But I don't know. Do you think that the price point is what is part of the reason why they're kind of?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, because it's the thing about that price point is, it's kind of necessary to to sell the game at that price point because of the amount of money that goes into the budget, budgets for those kinds of games. But the thing about it is that when somebody pays $60 for a game, they have, I think, a certain set of expectations, a certain level of expectation about what that game is going to be, about what the quality of the game is going to be. And so I think that because of the fact that the studios and the publishers really need to recoup the development costs of those AAA games, which is high, and because they want to try and meet and exceed player expectation, they tend to play it safe. They tend to to go with what's worked before and what people already know that they like and want. And that's not to say that there's not innovation that occurs, but I think that it happens less often than what you see in the indie development scene. So when you're risking less money, you can just afford to take more risks. And that's okay. I mean, it's great to kind of see the innovation that happens in the indie scene, and it does kind of filter up occasionally to some of the bigger titles.
Yeah.
And that's there's nothing wrong with it working that way, I suppose.
Well, DK, go ahead and give your point, because I had sort of
Yeah, sure. Oh, so, I mean, to me, it's kind of like we talked about last week. This is the best time for indie developers. This is the best time for that segment of the market. And I think the industry as a whole is healthier when both things are succeeding. I don't think it comes down to, you just want all things to be one price point, whether that's $60 or $10. I think they balance each other out. What's happened over the last couple of years is we've seen a rebalancing, because it used to just be all $60 games, and so they're competing in that space, and you get a ton of crap that gets put out there, and it's really hard to differentiate. So what happens is that the games that establish themselves become the norm, which is why we have so many sequels, is that the developers and publishers are forced to not take so much risk. But now with this kind of balancing of the industry, what's happening is it's better for the medium in general, because ideas that get spawned, whether on the indie game level, the $10 level, the $15 level, or the $60 level, they're ideas about how to advance the medium of interactive entertainment. And I think that it's very healthy to have the two things kind of teetering back and forth, not only for our consumer interest, but also for the creative interest of the industry at large. So I think we're in a really good state heading into this next generation, because there seems to be different types of importance, but almost equal levels of importance placed on both spectrums of development and publishing.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're going with that. I don't know. To me, the thing sort of seems a little. I don't know. People always clamor because they want something new or different or whatever. But then, a lot of times when you look at the actual results, it doesn't necessarily always reflect the same way. Mm-hmm. I think people a lot of times think that they want something new and different, yet they, in most cases, I think on the larger scale, go with the sort of the standard bearers or whatever, And so to me, it's like the $60 games are kind of like the the games that are, look, we have a responsibility to our stockholders. We have a responsibility to the gamers that want to see games from our company.
Yeah.
We've got to play it a little bit more safer. We're bigger companies. You know, a lot of times people say, well, they're huge companies. They can take the chance on that. I was like, well, yeah, but they also have to kind of play at a certain level, or they just, I don't know. I sort of think it's a little more difficult. Whereas the whole thing with the indie developers is their sweet spot, not only because they have a little more control over price, they can make games at a smaller price point because they have a delivery mechanism that allows them to do that. They don't have to, print, copies on disc and be able to ship them out and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Now it's a lot easier for them. And let's be honest with you, that's the market. If the big companies got into the types of games that indie game companies make, they would just run the indies out of business. So it's kind of like that perfect mix of like, look, we're going to do the big blockbuster, huge games that, people are still going to buy in droves. And then the indie kind of industry, most indies are not going to go out trying to make a Battlefield 4 killer or something like that. They're going to try to do something that maybe even is similar to that style game, but has some sort of interesting twist or an interesting hook. They're going to make a game that wouldn't come out of those other companies. So I'm actually kind of glad that they are separate in a way, because I think if they weren't, it would actually make it would go back to the old days of making it harder for people to kind of break in.
Right. Well, and that's I think that the sort of the balance that you're talking about, I do think that that's a really important aspect of all this, because I mean, both in the development side as well as what we as gamers ultimately buy, because there's good games to be had in both arenas.
Yeah.
And I think that just supporting everything that's out there that that you're able to all the things that kind of catch your fancy is a really good thing. And I like rewarding studios for making really good AAA games that offer amazing, compelling experiences.
Yeah.
And I also really like backing smaller indie titles that do something amazing and unique and wholly original. So there's room in the gaming ecosystem for all of that stuff to coexist.
Have I told you guys about Brothers yet?
No, what's that, Daniel?
God. All right, well, guys, that is going to do it for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we will be mercilessly cleaving the fat from the gaming stories of the day. For Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams, I'm your host, Tony Grice, and remember, cry havoc, and so we did 199 this week.
Yeah.
What that means, next week is
200.
And in the immortal words of Daniel Kaiser, 200 is not that big a deal.
It's not really. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not like 250 is a bigger deal.
I mean, it's one bigger than Wayne Gretzky, right? Or
No,
actually, it's 101 bigger than Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, so it's
But
twice
nothing's
as better.
bigger than Wayne Gretzky.
So wait a minute. No, you're exactly right though. It's twice as big as Wayne Gretzky, and it's still not a big deal. You're right. Okay.
Why? It's a big deal. It's just that milestones are like 50, 100, 250, 500, and 1,000 in my mind. If we get to 1,000 episodes, that'll freaking be a milestone.
If we could go over all of the things that are wrong with your mind.
Numbers are just the beginning.